guys, it's Julie from Plan to Create, and I wanted to do a little setup of November back here in my daily pages, and I thought I would bring you guys along. I am kind of flipping through to see where I'm at with this, and I have to point out, it's kind of a funny thing about this planner is one of the things that I love about it is that I've always said like, oh, these daily pages, they're so great. I can come back here and jot down little things and not worry if they are messy. That's true. Like I've enjoyed that about this planner because if I have an appointment coming up, I know, oh, I can write it down in the time slot. But it's also kind of funny because the last couple of days, I decided I would try doing something a little bit more organized back here on my pages. And so now, of course, like I've probably written in all the spots that will basically not allow me to pull it off the exact same way that I want to. So it's kind of a blessing and a curse that this is dated and it's all set up and I can plan ahead, but then it's like, ah, dang it, now I'm kind of changing directions on my focus for the area, so maybe I shouldn't plan so far ahead. Gosh, that's another reason why I still get drawn back into my printable files because, you know, worst case scenario, I can plan ahead, change my mind, and pull it out, print another, and carry along. This I'm going to definitely have to figure out some workarounds, but it's nothing so major. It's something that I will look at for a day, 2 days tops, and I can carry on. So I'm going to slide this out of my book just for ease. And I basically think I mentioned in my last video, I've been toying around, I'm still working out this whole inbox concept. So I do enjoy having an index here on this very first page of the month, and sometimes I come through with markers and kind of set the color schemes I want to use. You know, it's kind of a fun little spot and play. Had like 3 little focus areas for the month. So I know I want to include that index. I think I'm going to shift it over a little bit and I'm going to save room for one master inbox list for November. I have typically been doing my inbox lists on Sundays, which is funny because I apparently knew that there were some things coming up for November that I wanted to address, but I wasn't sure where else to write them. So I came to the first Sunday, like, you know, my inbox week. And that's great. It was a good idea. But now I'm like, ah, dang it. That's not exactly how I want to do that anymore. So some of those things will get transferred over and that'll be fine. I'll work around that when the time comes on the 6th of November. But I am going to go ahead and try that. And I feel like that's a lengthy enough space for me to have an inbox. I won't be writing, you know, breathe in, breathe out because that would take a lot of room. But I'll try to hit some of the major things that we need to accomplish throughout the month of November as they come to mind. So you'll see here also, part of why I like the indexing is that I do have some topical lists that I like to include, and you can see here November wish lists. I've already created a spot for that. Another one that I've been using recently is like a social media list. I just write out the dates similar to that index and track down, did I post something? Did I not? You know, I have been coming back through and saying like, how many likes did it get within a week? You know, so I kind of have a gauge of the content that people are enjoying versus just what I'm enjoying posting. And it's just for knowledge because I still will probably post some of the things that I like. And it's okay if they don't get as many likes or don't get the same reception. It's just information. Having said that, I'm gonna kind of just dive in, and this isn't really like going to be beautiful. I don't do a ton of decoration back here on my pages. If anything, I add some little Tombow marks. But I have, you know, I like lists, like plants that I want to plant here. I have my wish lists here. On a lot of these, I do like to try, even if I have a topical list, I do try to save a little bit of room for a to-do list of some sorts. However, having said that, I've kind of been starting to reformat this like this last week where I have a section for meals here under my day. I call it work in parentheses because it's, you know, stuff I enjoy doing, so it's not really work. And then creating is another concept. You know, what am I doing like for work versus create? It's a very fuzzy line. So I may actually combine those into one, just create, and then do like a home list too. That would be interesting too. I'm gonna just work myself completely out of the weekly pages where I don't even need them anymore if I have all my topical lists and all this business back here. That is kind of one of those things. I'm just trying something new. I have always been a weekly girl. I've always relied on my weekly view, and I've usually managed to squeeze most things into this view with a few occasional sticky notes thrown in for good measure that I end up throwing away at the end of the day. But I do love the idea of jotting a little bit more down here on these dailies because it does give me a little bit more record of like, what was I doing that day? I just have a big empty spot, but there are things that I have been working on. I just don't necessarily write everything down on this overall view page. So I am just finding my niche, and I think everyone's niches feel different. You know, some people like a lot of information here, and some people like a lot of information here, and I'm kind of trying to figure out where I like my information. So still a work in progress and still just kind of bringing you guys along with me to see if something resonates for you as I test things out here in my planner. So I was kind of peeking back through to where I started the year, and you'll see that I had those hexagons there with kind of some goals. Not going to do that. I did purchase the Moxie Life quarterly review books, and so I'm going to try to do that kind of work inside those pages. But I do like this January. This is a stickery, scripty font from the planner spot. So I am going to dig one of those out for November. I think that that's a nice topper. It brings a nice, poof to the page. And then similar to this, I'll just go through the numbers of November 1 through 30 for this month. And then we'll kind of see which kind of space we have left. So let's go. So previously I would highlight the Sundays because those were my inbox days, but now I'm going to come through and do that just because I kind of like to have my month broken out and I can see the different weeks within it that way. Just grabbing my Tombow N42 and writing in an inbox to get that section started. Next up, I'm going to add some washi here, and I'm going to go right over that little post-it flag because I just want it to be held secure in that spot, and that will be my place marker for where I can find my index and basically the beginning of November very quickly. It can be a little bit tricky trying to lay down washi on the ends of this paper. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just my old eyes can't see it very well. So I just grabbed that little file to use as a backdrop so I could see the line a little bit better and lay that across. I just trim off both the ends, and then I'm on the hunt for a little November abbreviated sticker from Papery Planning that I can lay on there. I do have to trim it down a little bit to fit, but that's a perfect little tag for me to find my spot in my planner. I pull out my kit here for November from the planner spot, and I realize, yep, it's a perfect month to head back to my usual 4 Tombow colors. I'm going to sketch them out here on my page so I have them as a reference just for fun, but you'll see that I use number N42, number 850, N89, and N79. And with that, it's time for me to go ahead and start to do a couple of my topical lists here on these pages. And I don't have 30 days of topical lists that I repeat every month. But one of the things I do like to include each month is a wish list. And so I divvy it out here into the 3 sections that I want to keep track of. A home wish list, a self-care wish list, and then sometimes it's capsule wardrobe. This month I'm switching over to creative supplies, whether that's planner supplies or memory keeping things that I'm eyeballing that I'd like to add to my collection. So I'm coming through with my eraser, and no paper was crinkled in the process. That's fantastic. And I'm just coming through with some markers and kind of trying to make this page look attractive, try to use those colors to divvy out my sections. And you can see I have that line across the bottom, and that reserves 3 sections for me. The first one I'm using here for my meals. You'll see breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. And then the next couple will be more just general to-dos or work lists, whatever I feel like I need that particular day. It might be a spot for me to jot down notes about the day for my memory planner. So I'm trying to keep it pretty fluid and flexible, but also trying to give it a little bit of structure so that it has a purpose and it's just not neglected. This is a process that I go through for this page, and I feel like it's nice to kind of have this prepped. Doing the topical list on here forces me to prep this page. But like you see, I'm not taking over the whole page. I am saving some room for future items that I might use actually on November 1st. And I've sped up this process a tiny bit so that you guys aren't bored to death. But I also kind of want to say, it does take some time to, draw these lines and to add the structure. Some days I feel like that and I love it and I feel like it just brings purpose to the page. And then other days I have no time to do that, in my mind. So I feel like that's okay though. Like I'm learning to let my planner be what I need it to be versus I just would say, don't ever let your planner add stress to your life. Our planners are here to help our lives get easier, to get those little ideas out of our heads circling around and around and to get them down onto paper, right? So don't look at this and think you have to set it up this certain way. I just think if this brings you peace to get these things on paper and to kind of add some structure to your day, awesome. That's kind of what I'm doing here. But I don't want you to feel like I will do this every day, for 30 days in November. I may or may not do it every time. So, okay, little soapbox over, and we'll move on to these gorgeous stickers from Lightly Inked. You may have caught this in my October flip through. This was a brand that I shared because I've just recently discovered it, and the impact that it immediately adds to my pages is fantastic at very little effort on my part. Once I get this sticker settled in its spot and I trim off the edge that's just slightly sticking off the page, I'm going to come through with one of my Zig dot markers, and it's super light. I bought the Smoky collection and I love them on regular paper because they are super light, but I do have to say that they're pretty non-existent here on this Tomo River paper. So I go ahead and use them here though because they're just a nice light guide for my November inbox, and it will just give me some direction when I come down to adding items here on my overall inbox. You'll see I try a few little places out for this sticker, and then I decide here, and I'm just pointing out, you can see the visual triangle between the 3 stickers. Even though this one is tiny compared to the other 2, I do think it helps balance them out a little bit. The next topical list I'm going to add here is a social media tracker, and this has just been something I periodically do. I'm not religious about keeping stats, but I do think it is helpful for me to just kind of see when I take long breaks, when I haven't posted something. I like to just check back and see what types of posts get a certain number of likes. It's interesting to me. It's not necessarily something that I'm using to guide my future content. I could probably be a little more diligent on that, but for me it's just interesting. So I'm coming through with no ruler. Not sure why I opted to freehand this, but once it all gets filled out, I don't think it really needs to be perfect. It just needs to house some information for me, so I'm keeping it pretty loose and fluid here. Because I have a pretty crummy history with tracking, I am adding it to nearly every section of my planner right now, which is redundant, totally admit that, but I'm tracking stuff. This is just hydration that I'm tracking also on my week, and all the things that I'm normally doing on my week, I'm including them on my day. It's like I'm going to hit one of those, and then I can always transfer the information to the other sections of my planner. It's just a Julie thing. I just feel like I need to have it everywhere. This portion of my video is repetitive. I basically just did the same thing on the November 1st page, so I am zooming through this, but I just wanted to show you like how I can try to balance that topical list as well as save room for some of the things that I like to do on my daily pages on the regular basis. So this pretty much sums up the items that I wanted to share with you. I guess the overall gist is just how I'm trying to dig into those daily pages, give them a little bit more purpose. You're going to see here that because I have, added that wish list into the back of my pages, I don't need it up on my monthly. So I'm going to shift a little bit of information. I'm going to try to add a sticker here instead because I don't want more writing on this page. I've learned that all the things on the monthly page can very quickly overwhelm me. My poor little brain can only take so much. I don't know what to say. But yeah, so I'm going to add this full box sticker kind of in the hopes that it just keeps that airy and light and doesn't overwhelm me. Of course, I'm going to fuss with it. Sorry if this adds stress to your life watching me stick and unstick a sticker. I don't know. Ugh. But all in all, I just share these videos in hopes that maybe you would get an idea of something that you would like to try in your planner, and not at all because I'm an expert or I have such great ideas, but I'm just willing to share what I'm up to, and like I said, hopefully it gives you an idea along the way. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up. It will let YouTube know that someone else might like it, and of course, you're always welcome to subscribe. Thanks, guys. Now that I've crinkled my paper, why don't I just literally scrunch it while I'm at it?